So it seems Battlefield 6 has a new main villain according to the interwebs. But frankly, I've seen this villain in action, even used it a few times. I've also seen some rogues gallery villains since this game launched, and they don't seem to have that big bad energy as this one does. Not sure I agree with that. My irritation within the game design or mechanics is targeted elsewhere for what I think is the main villain, but I digress. We have some meh devices, but we've always had some meh devices throughout the franchise, right? And we've also had some severely OP devices too. Yes, sir. Seems with all the little toys and gadgets we have at our disposal for utter carnage and mayhem, one device seems to stick out the most. And for the love of God, I don't know why. So, this was a video I was working on already before the challenges started, and it's posting today because of a massive interruption to my schedule I had already mentioned earlier this week. This content was already in the oven and almost done, so it's live today. I'm still editing and running the challenges, so don't worry, they're on their way. This is just a small interruption. Mortars. If you played a single match lately, but specifically a round of breakthrough since March 17th, you've heard it, or more accurately, felt it. The constant repetitive shelling from people you can't even see because they're tucked away in their spawn where, in most cases, you can't touch them. And some players decided to squad up using nothing but the mortars. It's smart, even though it's annoying as hell. That's right, folks. On March 17th, 2026, DICE dropped update 1220. This little bastard of an update came with some new rules and shit about the mortars. So, let's look at this real quick. Okay, so the update came with a slew of things, but specifically on the mortars, it stated that it expanded portable mortar deployment rules to HQ areas, improved minimap visibility and direct hit effectiveness, and it introduced updated anti-tank mine limits and despawn rules for better battlefield balance. Expanded to HQ areas, you say? Okay, doesn't really look all that big and bad on paper, right? I mean, basically it's saying that before this update, you couldn't deploy the gadget until you got out of the HQ zone, and now you can just spawn there from the word go, and drop one at your feet, and you're ready to rock and roll. Okay, I've seen this movie before, loads of times. But the forums and socials are a Friday night fast food restaurant dumpster grease fire. We have comments ranging from Babyfield, it's a World War I simulator, to claiming the game's dead because recon drones can't fly into the HQ to kill the so-called mortar rats. And everyone is losing their goddamn minds over a gadget that, if we're being honest, is mostly a nuisance. That's right, just a pain in the ass, not a real evil plaguing the map. I think the real reason people are losing their minds on Reddit and socials isn't the damage numbers. It's the whole, I can't see them so I can't kill them thing. It's that psychological itch that drives people crazy in a sandbox game. But Battlefield has always been about that kind of friction. If a sniper is 600 meters out, you know a way to flank around. If a tank is locked down and bringing the pain, you smoke that bitch out. If a mortar is in the HQ, you just stop being a target. The main villain of this story isn't the guy in the spawn with the tube, it's the entitlement that says everything on the map should be easily accessible for a melee kill. This isn't a small map arena shooter, folks, it's a war zone. War zones have indirect fire. If you want a fair fight, go play the 1v1 game on a flat map. If you want Battlefield, learn to adapt to the chaos, or simply just get out of the way. Gather round, children. It's story time. Let's take a walk down memory lane for the youngsters who think 2026 is the first time the sky has fallen. Remember Battlefield 3 Aftermath? Or the Grand Bazaar? See, kiddos, back then, mortars weren't just a nuisance. They were a lifestyle. In Battlefield 1, we had the airburst and the HE mortars. You want to talk about a World War I simulator? The game actually was one. You couldn't cross a trench without getting turned into a red mist by a guy sitting 200 meters away behind a stone wall. And guess what? We didn't have MP-APSs back then. We didn't have drones. We had a bolt-action rifle. And Battlefield 4, man, the UCAV and the mortar combo was the ultimate spawn rat starter pack. You'd have guys tucked into the skyscraper shadows on Siege of Shanghai, just raining hell on the elevator exits. It was brutal. It was annoying. But it forced us to think. It forced the team to actually use the commander mode or a dedicated flanker to go on a hunting trip. The difference between then and now? The player base today expects a safe zone, I guess. They want the objective to be fair 5v5 or whatever arena. But Battlefield has always been on a 32-32 meat grinder. If you remove the indirect fire, you aren't playing Battlefield anymore. You're playing a very large game of team deathmatch. You're taking the chaos out of the sandbox, and that's a road none of us really truly want to go down. But besides, Battlefield offers more than one counter to it. Sure, I've been hammered in the head with one of these little bastards once or twice. I even walked into one. But here's the thing. Are they working as intended? Well, it would depend on who you ask. We have gamers who like to dominate the map with ninja-like reflexes who get all bent out of shape when it starts raining hot lead on their faces. They claim it's time to either nerf them or go back to the pre-update 1.2.2.0 so that they could go back to dominating indiscriminately. Meanwhile, you have other players saying they work just fine and ask what's the big deal. But yeah, it would depend on who you ask. Me personally? Man, I've been around a while with this franchise, and I remember Battlefield 4 having the same tactic where you could deploy and use them at the HQ locations. And it was used a lot. And I don't recall hearing or seeing such wanted disapproval of this strategy. Maybe it was because the internet wasn't so prevalent with gaming back then. They may not have been as strong than compared to now. That part I don't remember. I just remember people using the shit out of them. And don't get me wrong, a lot of us did resort to name-calling in the in-game chat, but we simply just kept pushing. Now look, I'm not just gonna tell you to just deal with it and leave you out in the rain without an umbrella. If you're tired of being a splat on the pavement, stop playing on the honor code that doesn't exist. You have options here. Some are pretty solid, some come with a bit of risk. But you don't have to sit there and just take it, right? See, that's what we did. If someone was abusing a mechanic or gadget, we simply said our piece and moved on. Now, moved on took several forms. Sure, the least good option here is to do what some did, and that was leave the server. Some made it their personal goal to kill the offender in the most brutal way. Some just shrugged and rolled their shoulders and just adjusted fire. There was none of this going to Reddit nonsense. There was none of this game is ruined comments online. No, good children. Not at all. We simply just dealt with it because it was part of the game. But are they the main villain in the Battlefield story? Do they ooze Sith Lord menace or maniacal laughter when deployed? Well, maybe not the Sith Lord vibe, but most definitely the sinister laughter part. Okay, the options that you have at your disposal. Don some support swag and perform the MP-APS move. If you aren't running the MP-APS on a breakthrough point, you're simply just asking for a round in the face, guys. This is your dedicated missile and mortar interceptor. Drop it, keep it supplied, and watch those shells turn into harmless dust before they touch the ground. Just keep in mind, it's not gonna golden dome everything. It may only destroy a limited number of the rounds, but they may just be enough to get the objective. It even says right here on the text, guys, black and white, once set on the ground, this device tracks and destroys large incoming projectiles such as missiles, mortar shells, and tank shells. Intercepts all projectiles during a window of activation that begins after the initial detection. Right there in black and white, kiddos. And yet I rarely ever see this thing deployed. What I do see is in-game comments and YouTube posts that mortars need to go and there's no counter. If support isn't your vibe and would rather recon, well, there's the HTI-MK2. If you're running recon, use the HTI-MK2, guys. It doesn't just spot gadgets, it can intercept incoming projectiles if you time the activation right. It is a higher skill ceiling, but it makes you a walking trophy system. When equipped, the hardware suppression system spots all nearby electronic and explosive gadgets as well as targets in the middle of the locked-on process. Take aim and activate the device to intercept missiles and destroy electronic gadgets, up to a total of 3 combined. So yeah, you may not be able to zap the mortar, but you could intercept the incoming projectiles. If you use these classes and gadgets or not, you must take into consideration the mobility tax. Most of these guys using the mortars from the HQ areas are aiming at static red dots on a mini-map. If you're standing still long enough for a mortar to travel 400 meters and hit you in the forehead, man, that's on you. Stay mobile. Stay off the obvious head glitch spots, and you'll find they get bored pretty quick when they aren't getting hit markers. Yes, I know, if there's nothing but open sky above your head as you try to take a capture point, this is not an ideal option, as staying kind of stationary within the zone is optimal. Just be aware, is all I'm saying. Lastly, we have the counter battery approach. If it's really that bad, man, just grab your own tube, for fuck's sake. You know where they are. They're in the HQ. They can't move. And you know exactly where the red line is. Make them just as miserable as they're making you. Give them a dose of their own medicine. It's like the old saying, don't just do something, stand there. I've seen people just complain about the mortars. I've seen people show footage of crossing the HQ lines, becoming out of bounds to kill a mortar user, and now look at you. Both of you are dead. That's working harder, not smarter. Not very battlefield IQ of you, is it? There's another way you could look at this, guys. Just look at the actual geography of the map. It doesn't matter what mode or map you're running here. On Breakthrough, for example, when you're defending the first sector and contaminated, you're often bottlenecked in that slope in front of their HQ area. And now DICE has decided that attackers can sit way behind the tree line at their HQ and just lob shells. From the defender's perspective, it feels like you're trapped in a bowl while someone pours hot lead on you. And this annoys you. But if they are mortaring the slope, stop standing in the fucking slope. There are 2 flanking routes on either side of the objective and a back end area where mortar shells can't reach. But because 80% of the team wants that win the firefight in the center, they stay in the impact zone. The mortar user isn't just killing you with explosives, he's killing you with predictability. If you keep running into the same cover that just got blasted, who is really the villain here? You are basically volunteering for the meat grinder. And for the guys mortaring on the HQ on maps like Contaminated, you're kind of actually hurting your team's momentum. You're taking up a slot that could be a medic or an assault player actually clearing the way. Every shell you fire that hits a wall or a ceiling is a wasted resource. You're farming impact XP while your team doesn't capture the sector. So why does DICE update the game to allow the HQ deployment of the mortar? It's pretty simple if you stop and think about it. It's about breaking the stalemate. We've all been in those matches where the defenders have a god-tier setup. Turrets, shields, 3 squads of medics just chain reviving. Without indirect fire from the HQ, those objectives become impenetrable. The mortar is the great equalizer. It's designed to shake the snow globe. Is it cheap? Maybe. Is it annoying? Absolutely. But it's a tool in the chest. And it's effective. When you start calling for the removal of gadgets because they ruins things, you're asking for a sterilized game. You're asking for a game where the ninja reflex kids always win because there's no way to flush them out of a corner. I'd rather deal with 100 mortar rats in the HQ than a game where everyone plays exactly the same way. The villain isn't the gadget. It's the lack of imagination on how to beat it. Look, guys, I don't really see the difference here between mortaring the shit out of an objective in a mode like Breakthrough from the HQ area and, say, spamming the shit out of the opposition's HQ area, keeping them from retaking objectives after conquering the map or keeping them from advancing. Or someone just laying waste to an entire map using helicopters. Just vomiting out ordnance left and right, leaving smears all over the map like hard butter on bread. Which, by the way, I see all the time. And yet, no one's complaining about the spamming from advancing if they're the ones doing it. No one's saying the game is ruined with the helicopters. It's pretty much the same principle, right? So as far as I'm concerned, the Mortars is just a Tuesday for me, giving or receiving. Are they a giant pain in the ass? Especially when it's the whole squad or an entire team? Well, yeah, no one is suggesting otherwise. I guess the question is, are players just gonna say a game is ruined when anything is added to a mechanic or design they simply don't like? That seems to me to be the current trend. Game is ruined because it doesn't have a PvE. Game is ruined because the rules change on a device. Ruined because of a nerf or buff. Game is bad now because it added an arcade event inside the main game. The list goes on and on. Again, are mortars a pain in the ass? Yes. Do we need recon drones to be able to zap them in the area of HQ? I can see an argument for that, sure. In the meantime, are mortars really broken? Is the game really ruined? I don't think so. I suggest finding an umbrella, though. Chance of rain is pretty high in your area.
I got you!
Okay, so we started this conversation of the mortars and how players use them, or misuse them, depending on your point of view. So now we take the conversation to the comment section where you throw at me your thoughts and opinions on their use. Hell, mix it up and throw at me a player behavior or device that you think is misused or not used enough. Let's make it lively. You guys know the plugs and where they live. You know that I know that you know that I know that you know how these things work and why. Don't forget, I'm still waiting for submissions from you guys about challenges a casual gamer can run for Series 2 after I complete the original 13. I've received a few, so keep them coming. Lastly, please don't forget this month's Veteran Support Spotlight. You can find the details in the video description. Just open that up, scroll past all the info on how to support the channel and social links and such to the very bottom. There's a quick bio and a link for this month's Spotlight, the Wounded Warriors program. See if it's something you're interested in supporting. Thanks for watching, folks. Enjoy your hump day. Until the next one, out.